let's dive into Until Dawn. Just came out, and I just got back from seeing it in the cinema. My immediate verdict for the film is that it's basically a decent horror flick, but it does feel like it's been made by people who had the video game poorly explained to them. It doesn't feel like they actually played the game before they made the film. I'll just get into it. It kind of starts off with just immediately showing a Wendigo. Like 3 seconds in, you see a poorly lit Wendigo in this tunnel, and it's like attacking this girl. She gets away from it, and then there's this guy that stands over her, and he's about to kill her, and then she's like,
Wait, I can't.
and then I'm like, die again. So then the film properly kicks off, and it's like present day, and you see the main characters as like five friends. None of them are from the game. The main protagonist, I would say, is Clover, and her sister is the person we just presumably saw being killed. And she went missing a year ago, so she's taking her friends to go to the place where she went missing because she wants to find her sister. And her friends know that they're not going to find her. It's just a thing for closure or something. And then they see Peter Stormiere, the guy from the game. I was quite happy to see him in the movie. I don't know how much they fucking paid him to be in this film. He was the only notable like actor in the entire film. I mean, they obviously couldn't drag in Rami Malek because that's like it's like half the budget to get that guy in. So, but yeah, they see Peter Stormiere's character in a petrol station. They're in like the middle of nowhere. They're in some like foresty kind of area in America. It's like summer as well, which was weird because the game is set in winter and it's in sort of a mountainous area. So I don't know why they changed that. And they're driving through this like thunderstorm, and then it abruptly ends, and they just find this big house, and they all go in the house, and that's when things start basically going wrong. They start being basically attacked by a number of different things. The main thing that attacks them is this big guy that's seemingly indestructible and just knows where you are. Who is in the game? In the game, that's actually Josh, one of the characters who, like Josh from the game, his sisters went missing, or one of his sisters went missing, I think. And he basically was pretending to be this big guy to prank his friends because he wanted to get back at them for pranking his sister, and that prank led to her disappearance. So but in the movie, this big guy is actually some weird entity that's seemingly cursed in a similar fashion to the Wendigos. So then they get killed. All of them just gets wiped the fuck out. And then they all respawn. And it's like, oh, that's not really. So someone either has to die or you have to survive until dawn. That's like the premise of the show, and we literally see them die 12 times in a row. So the movie does feel like a bit of a waste of time because they don't really do anything intelligent with the lives that they have. And every time they die, they get more and more kind of cursed and have weird things happen to their body where they basically become a Wendigo. In the game, you literally do the opposite of respawn. If a character dies, they're like gone. How do I explain this? So in the game, there's like at least 8 people. Like, there's a lot more characters in the game, and they're all part of one big group. And there's a lot of interesting social dynamic and drama and stuff, which made it more interesting. And if one character died, that was the end of their story, and you would like switch to another one. And basically, it was all about the butterfly effect and how every small decision you make has a bigger effect down the line. So it's all in one life, but your decision changes the kind of timeline you have, I guess. But the movie doesn't have that. They literally just die over and over again. And I think they have until like 13 times to die until they just become unrecognizable Wendigo. So we see a lot of her sister, again, spoiler alert, we see a lot of her sister who disappeared a year ago. She is like a Wendigo, basically, but she's not really a full-fledged Wendigo. She's kind of recognizable, still wearing her dress and shit, but she just looks like fucked up. And that to me wasn't super scary. I know other people in the cinema were definitely terrified of the jump scares. And I think that's a big part of this film. There were so many jump scares. I've seen a lot of horror films. I don't think I've ever seen so many jump scares in quick succession for just a whole film. And they were decent, to be honest. It kept getting people. Like, it definitely is a good horror flick. I'll say that much. It's if you just forget about the game and you just want to have a laugh with your friends and just watch a film and get scared, it's a great film for that. It really is. It's very gory as well, so if you like that, then go for it, buy yourself a ticket. There was a scene at the end of the film where there was a full-fledged Wendigo. And by full-fledged, I mean basically the longer you're in this place and curse, the more fucked up and Wendigoized you are. So the original miners who was stuck in those caves after the accident. And they started eating each other. And, there's like a Native American legend where eating human flesh on sacred ground can transform you into a Wendigo. So the miners have been Wendigos for a long time. They've been getting more cursed basically since 1952. So they are these huge, wiry type figures because they've been so messed up for so long. Whereas her sister had only been one for like a year, so she was kind of still somewhat recognizable. So I was kind of waiting for the whole film to see these proper Wendigos attack them. And they're here and there, but at the end there was a great scene where the protagonist is like underground and there's this red light that's flickering in this cave and every time and she's hiding and every time it flickers, every time that light turns on, the Wendigo is in a different place in the room and it gets closer and closer and it is so good. It's such a small scene, but I love that. That is Until Dawn for me. Like, that was definitely a great part of the film. I just wish there was more of it. I just wish we didn't have so much of her sister being like attacking them or these other. Because there were people with masks on that were attacking them. There was one point where they are in a hallway and there's this really massive creature that just walks in and kills them, but it's wearing a mask and it's like 10 feet tall or something. And there's just a bunch of different random things in the film that's not really in the game. But yeah, that scene with the Wendigo is really good. I did expect more sort of butterfly effect visuals to polish it off like the game did, but I think the issue was that the game had more time and effort and love put into filling out the story more and having it as doubling up as a philosophical thing as well. Every action has consequences type thing. In the game, also, the therapist, psychologist guy was Josh's hallucination because he was trying to deal with the disappearance of his sister. But in the movie, that guy is actually real. Well, I think, anyways. The plot is very, very brisked over. It's a bit lazy. Like they do go over the mining accident and they go over this psychologist's um, experiments on people who are cursed in the area and how he jots down how they change and how they get more fucked up. So that's another difference with the game. But yeah, none of the characters you really care about on any level. Like I said, there's not much character development. The pacing is a bit strange because they are trying to jump scare you all the time, and it does feel like 80% of the movie is just them dying over and over. So it does. I can see why people leave the cinema thinking we just wasted a lot of time just to reach an ending that is unfulfilling and boring. Because basically, Clover finds her sister again, and she's like, "Oh, it's me," and she just stops attacking her, and I think there's something in her that realizes that's her sister, and then Clover basically pushes her into a giant spike and just about survives herself, and then she stands up and in a very unemotional, unbothered way says, "Oh, I love you very much, but I got to get myself out of this hellhole." And she just walks off. And it's like, what? You've been torn up over this, rightfully so, for like a year. and then now you just don't care. Obviously, she's in a pretty dire situation, but I just very unemotional. So yeah, and then they all kind of escape. The protagonist does kill the therapist as well, which was kind of smart how she did it. If you drank the water in the area, you would just blow up. And she managed to, there was like a leak in the ceiling, and she managed to push his mug of tea into the line of the droplets, and so he drank it and blew up. Pretty wacky movie. Was kind of close to the game, but not really. They kind of just survive, and then they get in the car, and then they just leave, and it's like, well, your sister's still in that cave. She's still there. And then the movie just ends on another group of people showing up at the house and the clock ticking again. And you're seeing the cameras of the therapist who is spying on them, and as if it's gonna all happen again. I don't know. It was like I felt so strange about how the film went, but I think I would have preferred if they just stuck with what worked. I see this a lot with remakes and rejigs of stuff that's already done. Just stick with what works and maybe change a couple things that people didn't like in the original piece of fiction. I would have preferred it if they had the large original group from the game with all of their drama and social dynamics between them, which was interesting. Because in the game, we were definitely rooting for some characters over other ones, but then they had the opportunity to redeem themselves and stuff, or become even worse because when people are scared, they do all kinds of things. But I understand that obviously, as a game, as a player in the game, we were in control of the character development. But I think the movie could have done some of that for us. And I would have really preferred a gradual build up. I would have preferred a gradual build up of the Wendigo and maybe just scratch the smaller ones and the guy who was just killing people and the masked people and the witch and stuff. I would have just got rid of that and just had the Wendigo maybe. And I don't know, you could have some other stuff because it is like they did say that the whole place was like a manifestation of the protagonist's inner demons and insecurities and stuff. So I guess some of it did make sense, and that was kind of explained. But I think for me personally, the Wendigo is like the shining star of the game. So yeah, that's my review. Basically, too long didn't read. Good horror flick, kind of similar to the game, but if you haven't played the game, it's not really a problem. And honestly, I would just recommend that you just play the game instead, really. Anyways, let me know what you guys thought of the movie. What were your favorite bits, or what would you change? And yeah, thanks a lot for watching.